Picture this: you kill your wife in your own living room, clean up like running a Hoover could erase a crime scene, and then just 2 weeks later, you stroll onto national television and cry fake tears for the cameras. The whole country's like, oh, poor guy, but spoiler alert, your Google searches are already screaming guilty. Every click, every search, every text, it's like you wrote your own confession just with Wi Fi. So let's meet our cast. Rachel O'Reilly, 30 years old, a mom of two little boys. She lived in the Knoll up in North County Dublin. Everyone who knew her said the same thing: kind, warm, loved her kids to bits. The kind of person you'd actually want as a neighbor. And then we've got Joe O'Reilly, 35, her husband of almost 10 years. He worked in advertising, thought of himself as a bit of a big shot. On the outside, a family man. Behind the scenes, he was cheating, he was controlling, and spoiler, he was about to become Ireland's most obvious murderer. So basically, she's the sweet, hardworking mom. He's the smug husband who thought he could outsmart everyone. And together, well, you already know where this is going. The morning starts off normal. Rachel drops the kids at school, comes home. A little while later, Joe calls her phone. No answer. Calls again. Still nothing. Now, most husbands would be worried, right? But Joe, he plays it cool. Too cool. He doesn't rush home. He doesn't even call the guards. Instead, he rings Rachel's mom, Rose. And he's like, hey, can you just swing by the house and check on Rachel? And Rose goes. She opens that front door, and she's the one who finds her daughter's body. Imagine that your daughter's dead on the living room floor, and you're the person who walks into it first. That image never leaves you. Joe, of course, shows up later acting all shocked, but people notice he is way calmer than you'd expect for a guy whose wife was just beaten to death, like almost rehearsed calm. That was the first red flag. So, less than 2 weeks after Rachel's murder, Joe does what every grieving husband definitely shouldn't do. He books himself a spot on the Late Late Show. That's Ireland's biggest talk show, by the way. Everyone's watching. And there he is, sitting on national television, dabbing his eyes, talking about how much he misses his wife. But here's the thing: it's not touching, it's creepy. It feels like a performance. The tears don't land, the words don't ring true. People watching at home are like, wait, is this guy for real? Then he starts describing the crime scene in bizarre detail. He tells his mother in law, Rose, that the killer must have come back after she found the body. He even talks about hearing gargling noises as Rachel died. Who says that on TV? What grieving husband comes out with that? Instead of sympathy, it gave off straight up psycho vibes. And while Joe thought he was winning Ireland over, he was actually digging himself deeper. Because the more he spoke, the less people believed him. Joe thought he was clever. He thought if he just kept repeating, I was at work, everyone would believe him. But here's the problem: cell towers don't lie. Investigators pulled his phone records, and guess what? His mobile pinged right near the O'Reilly house at 9:52 in the morning. That's the exact window when Rachel was killed. Not at his office, not on the bus, right there practically waving at the crime scene. And then there's the text message. At around the same time, Joe sends Rachel a sweet little message. Are the boys sleeping okay? Give them a kiss for me. XXX. Cute, right? Except Rachel was already dead. That text wasn't a love note, it was a cover. His attempt to make it look like he was totally clueless, like he had no idea what had happened. But the thing is, the message actually made him look worse, because it proved he was trying to create an alibi in real time. And once the guards saw that, the whole innocent husband routine started to crumble. Now, Joe had this one ace up his sleeve. He told investigators, hey, I was at work that morning, just ask Derek, my coworker. And at first, Derek backed him up. He said, yeah, he figured Joe was at the office early like he usually was. But here's the catch: Derek didn't see him that morning. He just assumed. He only said Joe was there because Joe told him he was there. Classic bluff. When the guards pressed him harder, Derek admitted it. Actually, no, I didn't see him. I just thought he was around. and that tiny shift wrecked Joe's whole story. His airtight alibi suddenly had a giant hole in it, because without Derek's word, all that was left was Joe's phone pinging near the house and Rachel lying dead in the living room. The investigators now had proof Joe wasn't where he said he was, and once that crack opened up, everything else started falling through. Years later, when investigators exhumed Rachel's body, they made a disturbing discovery. Inside her coffin, tucked away with her remains, was a folded note written by Joe himself. Two words, that's it. Rachel, forgive. No explanation, no apology, just a cryptic little message like he was taunting everyone from beyond the grave. For Rachel's family, it wasn't closure, it was salt in the wound. It felt cruel, like even in death, he wanted to control the narrative. And for the public, it sealed the image of Joe as the coldest husband in Ireland. Not only had he murdered his wife, but he left behind this creepy confession that didn't confess to anything. Instead of softening his image, the note just made him look more twisted, like the kind of guy who thought he was smarter than everyone else, even when he was literally writing clues on paper and burying them 6 feet under. Let's line this up. On one side, Rachel, 30 years old, a young mom raising two boys. Friends said she was upbeat, funny, the kind of person who lit up a room. She was trying to build a safe home for her kids. On the other side, Joe, 35, arrogant, sneaky, and already cheating behind her back. He wasn't grieving, he was calculating. He wasn't heartbroken, he was performing. Every move he made after Rachel's death wasn't about love, it was about covering his tracks. The guards looked at the evidence like a puzzle. Piece 1, the phone ping at the house. Piece 2, the creepy text sent after Rachel was already gone. Piece 3, the alibi that collapsed under the simplest pressure. And finally, the bizarre coffin letter that screamed guilty without saying it out loud. Joe thought he had the perfect plan. But here's the thing about perfect plans, they never hold up when you put them under a spotlight. Every detail he thought was clever ended up pointing right back at him. By July 2007, the case had built itself. The jury didn't even need a smoking gun. Joe had basically built the case against himself with every smug move he made. The phone records, the fake text, the failed alibi, the TV performance, the coffin letter, all of it stacked up. It painted a picture of a man who thought he was the smartest guy in the room, but who couldn't stop tripping over his own ego. The jury found him guilty of murdering Rachel. Sentence: life in prison with a minimum of 14 years before he could even think about parole. And as of now, he's served more than 17 years behind bars. And the kicker? He still claims he's innocent. No remorse, no confession. Just a man sitting in prison insisting he didn't do it, while all the evidence screams the opposite.